said to me, you're so sweet, but I can never love you like you want me to. I want you, my games is all you do. Push me away and drag me in, driving me insane. Do you remember your words? Do you remember saying that I'm not good enough for you and for that future of yours? These words unfortunately was not enough for me to remind you not to kiss me ever again. Once again we wake up, and once again you kiss me, and once again you leave me lying with my broken heart. I want you, my games is all you do. Push me away and drag me in, driving me insane.
So today we're going to be talking about the diatone trash can, taycan. So today we're going to be looking at the trash can from taycan. It's basically a Cinewhoop. My feelings towards Cinewhoops have been nothing because I haven't tried them yet. So I bought a diatone taycan. I picked this particular Cinewhoop, as I was interested in seeing how Cinewhoops were. And I picked this model because it had orange ducts. I basically read a ton of reviews about everything out there, which is also why I'm not going to do a full review, just give you my thoughts on this particular model and the Cinewhooping in general, the idea of it. I'm going to try and do this as condensed as I can and hopefully in one take. My initial thoughts on the diatone taycan is, build-wise, very good, but it's very complicated. I bought this as a plug-and-play kit for the DJI, which means that I bought the quad, fully assembled, fully everything, and I bought a DJI FPV Air Unit with camera on the side. Supposedly, this was a drop-in. It took me almost 1.5 hours to just disassemble the taycan to put the camera inside. The reason for this is that they used so much Loctite on the screws that I actually, ruined the top of the screws on several of them, which I find very, very bad. Having disassembled it and putting in the DJI FPV cam, I booted up the whole thing. Nothing was working. It turns out that this P&P version had one cable sticking out that wasn't connected to anything. That cable actually had to be spliced to a, for some reason, crossfire connector that was on the quad. So either I got the wrong version, but it doesn't seem that way because all the DJI cables were there. But I had to figure that out myself. That took a lot of time. The next thing was connecting it to Betaflight. Upon connecting in Betaflight, I could not get the right signal. I had to go and update the CLI commands in order for it to see my radio. Also a nightmare. I mean, I managed it, but if you're new to this and you're buying this as your first DJI thing, it's not going to be fun. As for the software on there, it's running Betaflight 4.1 something, and I figured I'm gonna update this later. So I went out and I flew with it. Feels like it hasn't been tuned, to be honest. So I thought, I brought my laptop, I'm just gonna tune it here. The problem is the USB plug is hidden so far and so deep down this that you need an angled micro USB plug or some other ingenious thing in order to actually just access it, which means you cannot tune this quad before you take it apart. And to take it apart, it takes a lot of time, mainly due to the Loctite thing, but also due to the thing that the way everything hooks together. You have to hold a bunch of stuff while screwing something in. It is without a doubt the worst quad I've ever disassembled and assembled again. That's what I think about the whole build quality and the whole idea of the taycan. The flying, well, it's hard to say. I haven't disassembled it yet and put Betaflight 4.2 on, which I want to do. So I do notice a lot of prop wash and a lot of stuff going bad that could be better. But it does fly nicely. I mean, it is fun. It is kind of what I expected. It's pretty sensitive to wind, but you can still fly through it. I was out flying yesterday in a very strong wind that required me to tilt this much just to stand still in the air. But it handled it. It really did work well. It makes a lot of noise. I mean, it makes so much noise that when I power it up over there, birds take off over there. It is insanely loud. You could probably put some other propellers on. You could do some stuff, but it's very, very loud. The whole construction in terms of shielding versus bumps and hits. I've hit this metal pole up there. I've hit that thing there. I've hit the trees. I fell down that tree over there. Nothing has happened. Not even a scratch. I mean, it's really durable. And this brings me to kind of the next thing that I want to talk about. The thoughts on the whole Cinewhoop thing. Because Cinewhooping is being sold as a tool for steady camera filming in a sense. But there's a trick to this, and this is something not everybody knows. When you're filming with a GoPro, you have something called hypersmooth. Hypersmooth means that this is what I have on right now, so if I tilt the quad left and right, it's still gonna look smooth. But notice this. Now we're flying, and I'm banking to the right. I'm banking to the left, and you can see that I'm banking. But if you go and look at all these Cinewhoop amazing films that people have put up and everything, they never actually bank. Everything looks straight. And that's part of why it gets this majestic feeling. So when they're flying and they want to change, instead of banking to the right and doing this, they're actually just doing this. It seems like magic. That's due to a program called Real Steady. And it's worth considering if you want a Cinewhoop for making something like that. What Real Steady does is that it basically extracts GPS data from your film when you have disabled hypersmooth, and then it tones out everything. So if you're banking, it can make it look like you're looking straight ahead, and this really gives a cinematic feel to it. The problem is it costs $100, and if you don't know this and you buy a Cinewhoop thinking that you're gonna get footage like that, you're actually gonna get really disappointed, because there is a big difference between flying like this and doing the exact same and it looks like that. So that brings me back to the whole Cinewhoop experience. I think Cinewhoop is a fantastic tool for cameramen, but I think it's being overlooked as probably the best beginner's kit for somebody starting out. I had a friend, when he had to learn how to fly drones, he bought a Cinewhoop. I would recommend something like this actually, maybe even this exact one, apart from the whole assembly process, which is really nasty. Then the quad itself is really good, it's really protected. And it does make a difference, because you have 6 to 9 minutes of flying time on an 1100 milliamp battery, such as the one I have on now. This is a 6S model. So think about that, 6 to 9 minutes. That is a lot. That is 6 to 9 minutes of practicing stick time, practicing how to go up in the air, making your first roll, practicing going slow through that gap right there. And it's well protected while you're doing it, which means that you probably won't even have to buy a prop. As a cinema tool, it's up to you if you want a Cinewhoop or not. It is a really fantastic tool for the camera thing. But at the same time, I could do everything with my 5-inch if I just take it slow. But when it comes to everything else, when it comes to being new, wanting a new drone, wanting to learn this whole thing, I think a Cinewhoop might be the correct answer. And while I was flying, I was actually entertained. I really thought it was fun to do these things. The whole change of pace, the minuscule, controls that you had to do in order to get through the things. But also it actually taught me a lot more about the space I'm flying in than it does when I'm flying my 5-inch, because that's just a different feeling. You get from A to B so much faster that you don't really see things. So I see the Cinewhoop as one of 3 things. It's a great camera tool if you need a camera tool. And let's face it, we don't all need camera tools. I mean, I'm flying in a very ordinary spot here. You guys have seen it before, maybe you don't want to see it again. And it doesn't even matter if I fly slower or if I fly closer to the ground, it's still the spot. So maybe you don't need a camera tool, but it's also a great starting drone or a quad that lets you get a lot of stick time in a relatively safe way. I mean, I flew through this. That is not a lot of space. Look at my hand. And I felt super comfortable doing it because A, the quad is small, B, if I failed, I was protected by the ducts, and C, if I failed more, I was protected by the ducts. But it's also being overlooked as an exploratory tool. With this quad, I now have searched the entire area here. I have honestly gone to places I've never been with my 5-inch or been on foot. And this allows me to figure out lines, figure out how I want to do things. It just allows me to play until I figure out, oh, you know, I can fly through that thing there and go over there above this, and you know, you can suddenly do stuff with it. But at the same time, it's also just fun exploring. I mean, every one of us that flies drones today, we all started with the same starting point. We want to see the world from above. Somewhere down the road, it just evolved into being, how fast can I see the world? How high can I see it? And how many flips can I make on the way down? And I think we sort of lost sight of what is actually the magic of this. And the magic of flying with a quad is very well summed up in a quad like this. And all that adds up to just a real sunny, real nice day, spending 3 or 4 batteries, no scratches, nothing broken. And I've seen places out here that I don't normally see. So my recommendation is, if you have the needs for Cinewhoop in the cinema department, or if you have it because you're new, or if you have it because you just want something to explore with, something to feel the magic of flight with, I would absolutely recommend getting a Cinewhoop. But I don't know if I should recommend the diatone taycan, because it's just super overly complicated. I don't know how other Cinewhoops do it, but make sure you look for one that's easy to disassemble and one where you can access the USB plug, because those two things are gonna drive you absolutely mad with this one. Sorry for the lengthy video. I'm gonna fly some more. See you later.